Okay, everybody, so we are going to get started. Hi, everyone. I am Maya Arber. I'm the international recruiter for Kol Ami Mechina in Israel, and I am so excited to have all of you join us. Let me present my screen for a second. We're going to be going through a presentation for you guys. On board, we have the director of Kol Ami, Gabi Grabin. And we also have some chanichim, some participants here from our different campuses, and an alumni on board who are all going to share their different experiences on Kol Ami. If you have any questions at all throughout the presentation, feel free to write them in the chat and we can get to them later. We will have a Q&A opportunity at the end of the Zoom. But thank you so much for joining. And we are going to get started. So Gabi Grabin, the director of Kol Ami Mechina, and one of our founders, is going to be starting us off. Gabi, all you.
Thank you very much, Maya. This is very exciting. Recruitment for our next year, for our 12th year of Kol Ami. Just going through the chat and saying where you guys are coming from, I think already says quite a bit about who we are. Just add to the list of all the places that you can see in the chat, add the Israeli component, and you get a very good picture of who we are. So I'll start. We'll really try to take this step by step. It's important to listen to the small details, because I think one of the most important things we understood in the past years is that our program is not meant for everyone, and people really need to understand what it's about. I'd say interesting, challenging. I think it's the most amazing program out there, but obviously I'm a bit biased. But it's a program that it's not just come and be washed away with an amazing experience. It's a program where you come, and for those of you willing to roll up your sleeves and get off your seat, it can and will be amazing. To understand what I'm talking about, we'll start with the concept of what Mechina is. Mechina comes from the word lehachin, in Hebrew, preparation, where everything we do is preparation for the next step coming after the Mechina. The concept of Mechinot is pretty big in Israel. It's been going on for about 20 years. Programs that young Israeli adults join into right after high school, before they go into the army, to get a bit more prepared to the big challenges that they'll be facing. So we took that idea, sorry for my quote. We took that idea of preparation for the Israeli society that's happening in all the other Mechinot, and we tried to make it a bit more wide and broad. It's not talking about the Israeli society. We wanted a place that would talk about the Jewish world as a whole, to bring young Israeli adults with young Jewish adults from all over the world for preparation for their next step. There are two main pillars that we will be dealing with in the Mechina. We are dealing with in the Mechina, which are, on the one hand, Jewish peoplehood, Jewish identity, and the connection we have with Jews all over the world. And second would be leadership, as in trying to take those two of starting to understand who I am, what I am, and what my place is in the Jewish world, and then taking that into leadership from the understanding that this is the generation that will be leading in the future. And we would like young adults that feel very strongly about who they are, with the skills of being able to do great things, and with the connections, like that wire connection of being able to do it with other people all over the world, that already puts the whole, and I know it sounds big, but this is what we're doing. It puts the future of the Jewish people in a different place. And I'll try to go into a bit of details, and again, any questions you might have, we'll be happy to answer later on. So talking about leadership, the biggest aspect of the Mechina is the way we work with our participants. We have participants here that join the conversation, and I'm sure they'll add from their manisayon, from their experience. But the main aspect is how we deal with leadership. So leadership could be learned in class, and it could be experienced, and we do both. And when the biggest aspect is the experience. Participants are put into committees, and they run everything that goes on in the Mechina. So we have a staff member that's in charge of every committee, but those who really do the work are the participants. As in, if we think of anything, starting from management, going into culture and Shabbat, and content, and the way the place looks, and maintaining, cleaning the place, and projects outside of the Mechina, hikes and tours, everything like that. There's a committee of could be 5, 6 participants. There's a head of the committee, and they are planning and like making everything actually happen together with the staff. So this already puts it in a very different level than any other program or most Masa programs where you come, it's an amazing experience that's provided for you. This is like demands quite a bit of work from the participants because we believe, again, it's not about the experience in the Mechina, it's more about the tools that you'll be getting for the future. And I'm saying this again, and I'll say it more as we move on. It's all about what happens next. We would be more, all the experience that we'll have in the Mechina have to do with what our overseas participants will be doing on campus and in the Jewish community when they go home, what our Israeli participants and those from overseas that will choose to go into the army will do in the army and after the army as citizens here. There are tremendous challenges, and all what we do is like leading in that direction. So we're talking about a program that's not, there are 2 options. As in the Mechina itself, it's 6 months, and then 3, an option of staying for 3 more months, where all these opportunities are immersive Israeli experiences, actually being with Israelis. I'm still surprised today that there aren't many options that really bring young adults from all over the world with Israelis together. So there are other programs where you could be in a bubble with people coming from your own country, but still you won't be mamash with Israelis. And being in Israel for 6 months or more than that, and I think, and not leaving with friends your age from Israel, I think is like you're missing out on probably the best aspect that Israel has to offer. Our programs are built with 2/3 Israeli for the most part, and a third from overseas groups for the most part, around 40 participants, maybe a few that are a bit larger than that. But again, the idea is them coming together. Besides the 2 pillars of the leadership and Jewish peoplehood, we have community involvement. We have getting to know Israel and the Israeli society, Israel as a whole, as in both by foot, traveling, hiking, getting to know people, getting to know, also going a bit through our overseas participants to understand the Jewish communities overseas, challenges that are happening there, the amazing things that are happening there as well. So that would go into getting to know Israel and the Israeli society. And our last one would be preparation for the next step. The preparation for next step for Israelis would be going into the army, and whatever has to do with that is in the army training and mental preparation and things like that. And for the overseas participants, it would be the preparation for going back, trying to be as prepared as we can to the challenges that you'll face on campuses, if it's anti-Semitism, if it's Jewish challenges in your communities. If there's one thing that I think we all have together is the fact that the young leadership is something that we need to start working on now, as in who will be leading, or not even who would be leading, but those 25-year-olds that would be filled with enthusiasm and wanting to connect the younger generation to the great things that are happening in the communities. Maya, could we move to the next one? Our participants come from all over the world. You see here, up to now, we've had from 38 different countries. Every year we have at least a few from surprising new places. So that's always exciting. But I will say that there is something about, it does sound amazing. And also just looking at the list, people come from all over the world with Israelis and it sounds amazing. But when you really think about it, the cultural differences are there. In the discussions that start off with within the groups, when they have to maintain like a family kind of group dynamic, so there are issues that come up and you have to learn how to deal with each other. And the cultural differences are, as we move on, it's usually the first 2 weeks are extremely exciting. Everything's amazing. Everyone's so nice to each other. Then it starts being what it really is. And then the differences really come up. And learning how to overcome them is another big aspect of overcoming challenges and getting to see people like on a deeper level than what you just got to see them at the beginning. And to also understand that people come from different places, and that's why they're different, and to embrace what's amazing about the differences and not just to take what sets us apart. That would be tremendous, tremendous as well. Next one, Maya. I'll give you an example for this year. We have just a bit over 300 participants in 7 different campuses. Kibbutz Amir in the north. I'll mention here those who we won't be talking about on this Zoom call, but Bet Rimon is specifically for Olim Chadashim, so those who make Aliyah join that that campus, and that's fully in Hebrew. So that's designated for Israelis and Olim Chadashim. Migdal Oz, the one we have here down here at the end, is a religious program. We won't be talking about that one here. Anyone who will be interested, you're more than welcome to be in touch with us to get more details. Recruitment for that is different. And the Machon, the one here on the right, is through mostly through youth movements coming from Central and South America. So those recruiting for that is different, but here you could see the spread of where it is all over the country. And we can move to the next one. We will be talking about these four in this conversation. A bit about each one of them. Kiryat Yarim is not far from Jerusalem, with Kiryat Anavim as well. The difference between the two, Kiryat Yarim is a youth village, so a lot of the community involvement of that Mechina is within the youth movement, the youth village for young children that come from less fortunate backgrounds. Kiryat Anavim is a kibbutz, a relatively old kibbutz from the 1920s. A lot of really sitting on a piece of history of the battles towards Jerusalem in 1948. Their main involvement would be either within the kibbutz or in that area. And obviously the vibe would be different if you're in a kibbutz or in a youth village. And up north, we have Kibbutz Amir, which is a joint program of ours with Mechinot Galil Elyon, which I think is one of the first Mechinot to be founded, and also a very well-established organization up north. And Kibbutz Bachan is pretty much in the center of Israel. Again, a kibbutz environment, and whatever that brings with it. And we'll be happy to give more information as we go on. Also important to understand is that every campus has the main DNA of Kol Ami sits and lies in each one of them. We do meet quite a few times throughout the year. We have seminars together. We have certain hikes together. We have Yom Kippur we do together and different holidays. So always people ask, so how do I choose where to be? So people could choose from the bit of the information that they're able to find. At the bottom line, I don't think it really makes that big of a difference. The DNA is the same, being with Israelis, the curriculum is relatively similar. And we also get to meet all the campuses quite a bit. So you do get that sense of feeling. Also, I have my small campus, but I'm also part of a big movement that is really doing something amazing within the Jewish world.
Yofi. Toda rabba, Gabi. So we're going to be going into different topics now about Kol Ami, and we're going to be having different representatives from each campus discuss these topics. I'd love for all of you who are coming to speak to share who you are, where you're from, and even maybe which campus you're from and why you chose that campus, and then go into the topic. So first, we're going to start with representatives from Kibbutz Amir. Sharon and Gilad, I would love for you to unmute yourself and share.
So hi, everyone. My name is Sharon.
I'm Gilad.
And ironically, we are both from the same place. We're both from New Jersey in the States. So we're from Kibbutz Amir. Not really much to say other than the fact that I heard about Amir first out of all the campuses, and I jumped on the fact that I really wanted to be up north and kind of far from where my family was and explore a new part of the country that I didn't explore before.
It's a gorgeous kibbutz. You see right on the Jordan River, the beautiful view of the Chalmon mountain.
Yeah,
I picked for the location.
And we also do a lot of volunteering in the Upper Galilee, and we also talk about a lot of we talk about periferia, like the outskirts of the country a lot, and how it differs, and because we are living in a peripheral area.
So in the Amir, we explore, and all the shluchot, we explore the people and the culture through the sidot we do. So every couple of weeks we go on a different series, whether it's 2 weeks ago, we were in Judea and Samaria, last week we were in Jerusalem, and there you're going to meet both the local people, different groups within Judaism outside? You got to meet with the Palestinians and.
We also go on a lot of trips. We go by foot. We went on a trip on the Golan Heights. We went from one point to another. We talked about the different geographical areas in where we were. We also did a navigation series. And we really got to explore like what's it like to
by your feet.
What's it like to really do
feet,
it,
yeah.
and also become like kind of like a soldier, like soldiers do it that way. So it was really interesting. We also do a lot of seminars, which is one of the big ones that we do in Kol Ami is the Jewish Peoplehood Seminar. So something that like we go to like the seminar with all the other campuses, and something that's special that Amir is doing actually right now is we're bringing that on to the rest of Galil Elyon. Like everything that we learned in Kol Ami, we're now teaching to other campuses of Galil Elyon. So currently me and Gilad are right now in that series. So we get to learn and then teach. So.
Thank you.
Yofi, toda raba. Next, we're going to go into leadership and personal development, and I invite Li Yofi to come, and she is speaking from Kibbutz Bachan.
Hi everyone. Like Maya said, I am Lee. I'm from Amsterdam, and I am one of the Chanichim of this year's Bachan Shlucha. So I was asked to talk about leadership and personal development, which both are really big topics, in my opinion, when it comes to Kol Ami. Especially leadership and Jewish peoplehood are both things you hear all the time in the beginning when you come here. And leadership, when I was asked to talk about this topic, I really got to think what until now that meant for me. And I feel like when I came to Kol Ami, I had like a big picture of what a leader should look like. In my eyes, when I would think of leadership, it would be somebody that could stand easily in front of a group, somebody that would take initiative. But I feel like it's much more than that. We do a lot of stuff in Kol Ami that has to do with leadership. So like they said, we have vadot, we have communities. So we take a lot of responsibility on ourselves. And I feel like there's not one leader. We all have to work together to make it work. And some people are just different leaders than others. So you see in a lot of like vadot that we have in committees that sometimes the person that's under the one that's responsible does a lot more and helps the one that's responsible. So I feel like leadership got such a different meaning being here, because you have to take responsibility for your actions, for being in a room with other people. There's a lot of hard things that come along with that, and you have to take responsibility for your own values and what you think is right and talk with other people. And personal development comes out of that, because I feel like I can now see leadership in a different way. So in my opinion, I kind of developed. So personal development for me, I think will come after I'm done with Kol Ami. I'll see it more and more, I feel like. So yeah.
Yofi, toda raba Li. Next, we're going to move on to Jewish peoplehood and Zionistic identity, and I invite Daniel from Kiryat Anavim to come and speak. Please introduce yourself and say a little bit about, Kiryat Anavim, and then go into the topic as well.
Sure. So, hi, I'm Daniel. I'm in Kiryat Anavim, and I chose it because I just love the convenient location. It's right next to Jerusalem, and there's a lot of involvement with the conservative movement in Israel, which I think is really interesting. So I'm from New York, but my parents aren't. They're from Israel. And growing up Israeli and American, I think it's given me certain insights into the ways each group, Israelis and Jews from around the world, think about their Judaism. I mean, to the Jews of America, Judaism is a religion and it's a culture. Jews congregate in congregations, they have bar bat mitzvahs, they share their bagels, and then they go home. They have lives that are entirely separate from their Judaism. Judaism is just one aspect of who they are. And yet, Jews in the diaspora, every day, they make the active decision to be Jewish. As a minority, they always put an effort to keep their identity and defend themselves among the majority of non-Jews. But in Israel, Judaism is everyone. Most people in Israel are Jewish, and the very state itself is Jewish. Jews in Israel grow up celebrating the holidays and speaking Hebrew as a fact of their lives. They never decided to be Jewish, they just are. And that means that they never really have to put in the same exact effort to be Jewish. And that means, it means that like the meaning of being Jewish and of being a Jew is lost on many of them. In fact, actually, I've heard that the fastest assimilating group of American Jews is specifically Israeli American Jews. So that brings us to Kol Ami. Kol Ami, it's just this great melting pot where all Jews of all sects and sorts and origins, they all come together. And at one moment you could be talking to an Orthodox Mizrahi Jew from Jerusalem, and then turn around and talk to a secular Ashkenazi Jew from Argentina. And this variety, I think, brings a lot of meaning to our Jewish lives and helps us find out why we choose to be Jewish. Jews in Israel who are here learn from Jews who are a minority in their countries, and they must choose to be actively Jewish every day. And more importantly, they learn from Jews abroad to ask themselves why they are Jewish and not just to take it for granted. Jews from abroad come here and learn that Judaism is not just a series of rituals and Yiddish phrases, but it's a people. People in Israel live Judaism. They breathe Judaism. Judaism is their law, it's their language, it's their food, it seeps into every part of their lives. To be here and to experience that, I think opens a capacity to not only have that immersive connection elsewhere, but also to form deeper bonds with other Jews around the world, regardless of how observant they are. And Mechina, whether or not someone keeps kosher or Shabbat, or even whether or not they believe in God or what they believe God is, it all fades away and it reveals that all of us really share the same lifeblood as a nation. In Mechina, I mean, after talking to everyone, I feel like I know why I'm Jewish. I'm Jewish because the Jewish people, not just the traditions, not just where I came from, what I do at home, what I eat, the Jewish people itself, I feel like are my home.
That was beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And next, about volunteering and community involvement, I welcome Mia to the table to speak about this.
Hi, can you hear and see me?
Yes, you're good to go.
Hi, so I'm Mia. I'm from Hong Kong and I'm currently in Kiryat Yearim. As Gabi mentioned earlier, Kiryat Yearim is a youth village where we basically live with kids who are in a boarding school, who attend a school here in the youth village, and they're kids who come from difficult backgrounds or who are deemed as at-risk students. And so we do tons of volunteering in Mechina, when we're here in the Kfar and in general. So every week when we are in Mechina and we're here in the Kfar, we volunteer twice a week for around 6 hours each time. The volunteering ranges from different things. So what I personally do, and one of the main volunteering options, is to work in the school with the kids, whether that help them with their English or help them with their math or their science, but work with the students here. We also have people who work we have a garden here and a petting zoo here. So people work to maintain the aesthetic value of the Kfar and the youth village where we live. We also have volunteering offered outside of where we live in Jerusalem. For example, there are people who go to Ilanot, which is a school for people who have cognitive or motor difficulties. So they can't speak, they can't move by themselves, that kind of thing. And they go there and volunteer. We have people who work with adults on the autistic spectrum. There's really a range of volunteer options. Another new volunteering initiative has begun where people work with elderlies. They go visit elderlies, they talk to them, they keep them company. Again, there's really just a range of volunteering options, and that's just within Mechina. When we go on different trips and different activities and all that, we also do more volunteering and involvement in different communities. For example, next week we go on our Chovek trip, which is a 2-week trip around Israel. I'm sure you guys will hear about that a lot. And one day I think we're going to go help on a farm with agricultural work. There's just tons and tons of stuff we do where we not only give back to where we're staying, but give back to other communities, other groups. It really is a big part of Kol Ami and what we do here, and it's a massive focus. So yeah, that's about the volunteering. Thank you.
Yofi. Toda rabba, Mia. So next, we're going to be talking about prep for the next step. So how do we prepare our chanichim, our participants, to either enter the army, go to university, start work, or make aliyah? And so we invite one of our alumni, Ella. I would love for you to unmute yourself and introduce yourself, where you're from, what you're doing now, and a little bit about how Kol Ami has prepared you for where you have gotten to.
Hi everyone, so I'm Ella. I'm from London. I was in Bachan in 2020, so it's been a while since I was there. Right now I'm in the army. I'm a search and rescue instructor. So I'm here to talk about how Kol Ami has prepared me for my next steps and how it also supported my friends who didn't decide to go to the army or didn't decide to stay in Israel and went back home to do college, university, or whatever. So during Mechina, we had, in general, the whole schedule of Mechina, the fact that it's so intense, and the fact that you have cleaning every morning, and the fact that, you know, you wake up early and you go to bed super late, and you're very independent, and you have your own committees, and you're organizing different things to help the community. Just the whole schedule, the whole structure of a Mechina it resembles a lot of the army, and that's like the one thing I can say, that just the whole schedule and throughout the days and throughout the weeks and months, that is what has prepared me for the army personally. Cleaning every morning and the intense schedule, it resembles a lot about the army. We also had Shabuatal, so Army Week, where we had commanders come in and basically give us a taste of what basic training is like. That was super intense, and I can definitely say that. So I'm not a combat soldier, but my basic training was actually less intense than the one that they did on Mechina. So it definitely prepared me for the army in that sense as well. And in terms of my friends and people who went back to college or university, they were prepared by being more independent. On Mechina, you know, especially as a person from abroad, you don't have family here, you don't have much of a support system. So the fact that you're here alone and you have the Mechina and you have friends and you meet Israelis who invite you around for Friday night dinners and help you with whatever, if it's organizing, you know, your phone contract, or if it's, you know, giving you a meal, or even offering to do your washing for the weekend. That is really like a big thing with integrating with the Israelis. And also just becoming more independent within yourself. You know, on Mechina, we cook our own meals. I remember we cooked dinner every night. So you're just learning how to live by yourself a bit. And I'm sure that definitely helped my friends when they went to college or university to live alone. And yeah, that's like mostly what I can say about it. But yeah, that's it really.
Sophie, thank you so much, Ella. And I do want to add to that I would say around a third of our international participants end up going to the army, but another 2/3 end up going back to their communities. So it's not something that we push on any of our participants, because we also believe that it's important to grow as a Jew in Israel and learn from the experiences that you have, and then take it back with you to your community to impact them. So wherever your path takes you, we're here to help you with that next step. Thank you, Ella. Next, we're going to be going into the scheduling of Kol Ami, and I welcome Adi Bloom, our educational director, to come and speak about this.
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
Yes, you are good to go.
Yofi. Okay, so I'm the education director of Kol Ami. I was the Kiryat Yearim branch director in the past 4 years. So I really like this place. This space of Kol Ami. Okay, so what do we do in the schedule? We have both the weekly one, which I guess Maya, we're not gonna introduce at the moment, or do we?
We'll introduce it next.
Next, great. And we have the full 6-month schedule. The idea is that we really believe in informal education way, which means we're gonna involve both indoor and outdoor experiences and study, okay, both. In this overall schedule, you can see there are some white weeks and some colorful weeks. I'm colorblind, so I cannot tell you which color it is, but I guess you will understand. The white ones are weeks that we're going to do within the Mechina, within your campuses, which will involve, I will show you later, studies and group dynamics and projects and stuff like that. In the outdoor weeks, which you can see, it's almost once or twice a month. We're going to do different challenges, I would say. Some of them are going to be how we're going to celebrate together our holidays, okay, like Yom Kippur or like Sukkot or Rosh Hashanah. Okay, and in some of the holidays, we're going to go to vacation, and some of them we're going to celebrate together. And believe me, it's a big deal to plan your own ritual and do it together with people who share different opinions about what they believe in and how they used to celebrate their own holidays. Moreover, we have different hikes around the country during Sukkot, during Navigation Week, in some parts in Midway Week, and more than that. We're gonna hike properly in the Israeli style, okay? Which means in some times we're gonna be backpacking, everything, all the gear on our back, and wandering around the country through his landscapes in the desert, in the north, in the forests, in the mountains, in the lakes, whatever it is. And in some places we're going to do it as it's almost part of the preparation for the army, but not just. Let's say Navigation Week, you're gonna study yourself. You're gonna learn how to navigate your own way in a place you don't know. Okay. In small groups, you're going to plan your path. You're going to walk with a map and a compass. And every day you're going to investigate your own decision making. It's quite an experience. If you have more questions about that later, I'll be happy to explain more. But it's not just we take you on a tour for sightseeing, not at all. You're going to know Israel by foot and by maps that you're going to learn how to read and how to use and how to plan your own trail. We have our seminars, okay, not just hikes, but also like intellectual seminars, like the Jewish Peoplehood Seminar and Judea and Samaria Week, where we're going to explore complicated topics in a very in-depth experience, an in-depth way. We're going to see places, we're going to meet people who are living these issues in different sides to have a very round understanding of the different subjects. Could be the Israeli-Arab conflict or Jewish peoplehood in general, and more and more. We have in every campus, there's also specific unique weeks. Lech Lecha is one of them. In some campuses, they send you in pairs to different other programs. In your age, could be Shnot Sherut in Israel, and different Mechino, different gap years. When you go on to explore different experiences and bring some of them back into the Mechina, but again, it changes from one campus to another. I just want to conclude with Chovek Israel. At the end, February, 2 weeks of a concluding trip, which you are going to plan from A to Z, from scratch, starting from walking to raising the money, planning each day. Everyone in the campus in the Mechina is going to have a responsibility over one of the days in small groups, arranging the budget, making the content, making the connections in the places. And we wander for 2 weeks around Israel, getting to know her, wow, in a way that even Israelis don't really know. And it's amazing to see the question that you bring in, the communities you're going to meet, the places where you're going to stay. That's a big challenge, and it's a big peak to end with Mechina. The different Chanichim that you just talked before, all of them are now working really hard on planning these 2 weeks, and believe me, it's quite an adventure. Yeah, let's move on to the weekly indoor week. So listen, we believe in 3 main processes within Mechina. We have the goals that we just talked before, IDF prep and stuff like that, but we have the process of what you're going through yourself. So one of them is Kvutza, okay? The group experience, the community building. How are you going to do it by yourself with your own community of peers? Okay, how are you going to do it? The second is Mesima, the mission, the tasks. How are you going to take leadership and responsibility over your own life and the group life? And indeed, you're going to have a lot of responsibility and say on how your own experience is going to be like. If you put the effort, amazing, you're going to have great experience. If you're going to be slack and laid back, no one will do it for you, okay? And your experience will look, as well. And the third one is limud, okay, the learning process. And we really believe in learning, and we do learn a lot in Mechina. A lot of it is in class with the discussions within the group and the different lecturers and speakers. And another aspect is how you're going to learn from living together independently and all the different experience you're going to gain in the outdoor weeks and on your spare time in Israel and in the Israeli hosting families and stuff like that, which you've already talked about. In this schedule, you see it looks like a balagan of different time slots. Red ones, I believe it's red, time slots that are in the responsibility of your own educational staff within Mechina. Okay, so the staff itself is not just catering and accommodating for all your needs, it's also like people, educational people who have something to say to you and teach you and talk with you. This is a schedule for Miarim from last year, but every campus has a slightly different schedule, but not that different. The blue ones, is that blue? Psychology, gender, purple, yeah, purple. These are the external speakers who come every week to talk to you about specific subjects. And believe me, these are topics we really believe people in your age who have the potential to be young Jewish leaders in whatever decision you're going to take in your life, we think you should know and talk about, okay? So it goes from the Jewish bookshelf to Zionism, to Israel, and then to gender and economy and environmental issues, all of this together. We want you to be able to understand what is going on in your life and how the Jewish culture assets can contribute to your life, to your moral decisions, and to understand your own share and responsibility in this world. The one that I think it is either yellow or gold, these are time slots that are under your own responsibility as a group. And if you can see, that's the majority. The majority of the schedule is under your responsibility. It could be social engagement, what you talked about, volunteering, what you're going to do to the external community that surrounds you. It could be group dynamic, which basically inviting you to bring up issues and topics you want to share and talk about in the group. Zman Va'adot, time to work on your projects. Shabbat, that's a whole thing that we're not going to open here, but that's a major project in Mechina, and it's amazing to see for every cohort in every campus how Shabbat is so different and expresses the different identities and habits and customs in this specific group. And that's really unique. And lots of other stuff you talked about, cleaning and mesima and stuff like that. So we involve in the schedule time for group process, for mesima, for leadership skills, and for in-depth learning, basically.
Yofi, toda rabba, Adi. And now I will give the microphone back to Gabi. He's going to talk about some dates, Perek Bet, and also some technicalities.
Okay, perfect. So thank you everyone for speaking up to now. This is really exciting also for us to hear. Thank you. So dates, these are tentative dates. They can be like a day earlier, 2 days earlier, a day later. We're still working on the finalization of those. So orientation, August 22nd, a day where we bring our overseas participants for a few days of preparation and to ease up the landing, period before they move into the campuses and the programs actually start. So all the overseas participants will be together for a few days and a weekend, and then move out to the campuses and meet the Israelis. That goes for about 5 days. Start of the Mechina is August 27th. That would be most of our campuses start with a hike to spend our first night I'd say without everyone being able to run away to their rooms, as in together, bonfire, very special group experience that builds a group environment. And end of Mechina would be February 22nd. So that'd be the 6 months of the Mechina itself. Israelis joined the army in early days of March. And we have an option that's actually starting for the first time this year. We have participants, we have the opportunity to stay with participants for an extra 3 months for what we call Perek Bet, the continuation of the program. It's taking all what we've done in the program and taking it to the next level. So they'll be living in a group environment, running their own budget, running their own schedule. Staff is like as an umbrella staff. We're not there on a daily basis. Every participant has either volunteering opportunity that he chose or internship, and they wake up in the morning just like the next steps will be. Once they go home, they wake up in the morning and they go do whatever their responsibility is. They run the food aspects, the budget aspects. There's 1 day of schedule that we run. We have a few weekends that we do together. So it's really taking all the responsibility aspects that they've learned and taking it to the next step. Next one, Maya. Okay, so this was I just mentioned about the Perek Bet, Mitsuyan. And next, the technical details. I usually like to look at this as more like the parents usually are more interested in these details. So the travel insurance is not included, but health insurance is. The truth is everything within the program, once you arrive, is pretty much taken care of, besides like busing from and to the campuses. But everything during the week is taken care of and provided. So health insurance, we take care of the visas. The visas are usually for the whole period of time. So if you sign up for the 6 months, you get a visa for the whole 6 months. It's a special visa. It's not the regular tourist visa. Safety and security. I'd say it's a tremendous component. We are part of the Jewish Agency, and we also get regulations from the Ministry of Defense and from Masa, because we're also a Masa program, we're also a Mechina, an army preparation program. So we pretty much get regulations from everyone. And it really makes sure that everything we do is as safe as it can be. We have had a participant here who mentioned Yudav Shomron, the week in Judea and Samaria, the hikes that we do. So everything is, like we get permits for every specific hike. We fill in the details of where we'll be, and we're told what we have to do. And we have like this security officer within the Jewish Agency that also makes sure that everything happens the way it should. So it's on the highest level. And I'd say with this, it's not only doing things safely. We also, what we're interested in is that we want to teach our participants safety, as in the importance of it. And as they prepare a lot of the things that we do, so they get an insight into how to think of what can go wrong and how to make sure that they come up with the idea or with the plan of preventing things from happening. So not just like making sure, like to think, what we call in Hebrew nihul sikunim, is like managing the things that can go wrong and being able to be there one step ahead. Masa registration, grants, and scholarships. I'll start with the payments. We're talking about $13,000 for the whole 6 months in Yarim, Anavim, and Bachan, 14 for Amir, 5,500 more for the extension for Perek Bet. And through Masa, once we register, you can get on a need base, you could get grants and scholarships. And as I said, the payment takes care of everything. We provide like sheets and blankets. Starting from there, we pick up from the airport, and there are the weekends. There are the weekends on the Mechinot. The most free weekends are taken care of by being hosted by the Israelis. We have also options of taking care of those who are not interested in staying with the Israelis, which sometimes like, people just want their peace and quiet. So there are other options as well that we would love to take care of, and to mainly give people that feeling of that they have a family when the family is far away from home. I mentioned before, and I think that was it with the slideshow, right? We can take that off.
Just one more after.
Okay, so I'll just add 2 more things, and that has to do with the fact of with the kind of participants that we're looking for. And I saw that question was put on before. This program is not necessarily the easiest one out there. And I think you got from what the participants said and what we described, it's a challenge. And I think when thinking about the kind of gap year that you're looking for, I think the question is not where am I going to have the most amazing time? It's more of where am I going to have the most meaningful experience that would impact who I am to the future. And there, it's a whole different perspective of what a gap year is. Coming and getting all the tools and dealing with all the challenges that you deal with on our program really gives a very, very good opening to the adult life. And it doesn't matter if it's here in Israel or back at home, there are tremendous challenges. And it was, I think as Ella mentioned, she got to the army and she felt like some of her challenges were easier in the Mechina. So things, we really try to keep things both realistic and challenging. So when people get and I'm confronted with other challenges in the future, it's like, okay, I've dealt with things. I can do this. That sense of ability that I can do more than what I thought of before I came to the program is tremendous. Out of everything, the personal growth is big, very big in our program.
Yofi, Toda rabba, Gabi. And so if you're ready to join us on Kol Ami, I do have a QR code here, so you're able to scan that and it'll take you to the application. As I said, I'm the international recruiter. I'm also the registration coordinator. So you'll be working with me on registering and applying to Kol Ami. So I have my email there. Feel free to take a picture, save it. You've been getting emails from me probably. And I'm here to really help you with the whole process and help get you to Israel. So I want to thank all of the speakers who came to share with you about their experiences and why Kol Ami is important to them and why you should come. And thank you for coming, and we're gonna now leave some time, around 10 minutes, I'll say, for questions and answers. And if you have any questions after this, feel free to also stay on. We're happy to stay on for as long as you need. I think we can start with what's in the chat, Gabi, and then move from there. And anyone who wants to unmute themselves is more than welcome to.
Okay, so I'm happy to start with our participants here, and they want to answer any of the questions. They're more than welcome to as well. Okay, we'll start with Hebrew. So we really didn't talk about that, but when we founded the program at the beginning, it was a very big question. What language would we be speaking? On the one hand, it's in a Jewish leadership program. It should be Hebrew. On the other hand, we want to have participants coming from all over the world. We don't want people to not be able to come because they don't speak Hebrew. And what we've decided, most of our campuses start for 3 months in English and then move in to Hebrew. It's not only English or only Hebrew, but it's the majority of the things are mentioned in English at the first 3 months and then moving into Hebrew. That means you need some sense of Hebrew to be able to do well in those. But also if your Hebrew level is low, but you want it on a better level, so that would be a great challenge with the first 3 months to speak to the Israelis and to learn Hebrew on campus and to get as ready as you can for when everything moves into Hebrew. When things move into Hebrew, even if you're not 100% understanding everything, you're immersed in Hebrew, and your Hebrew level will get higher. We have two campuses that are primarily in English, and that's for those who come with a really low level of Hebrew. And as I mentioned before, we have one campus. We're not talking about that one in this meeting, but if people will be interested, that's fully in Hebrew, mainly for Olim Chadashim. The aspect of learning Hebrew with Israelis is something that we do often. The question is, the lectures, like what language would that be in? We also try, both in the period where we're speaking only in Hebrew or only in English, to have things in the other languages as well, so people don't, like they have at least a few sessions a week where they could just be who they are without being, I'd say, challenged 24/7. So I hope that answers that question.
There's a question that's asking for one of our participants to answer. So Lee, I'd love to hear from you. It says, can the participants speak to the relationship between the Israelis and the international participants? Is the Hebrew prominent? Israeli culture? How has that been with culture shock being with the Israelis? So if you could talk a little bit about that, I think that would be wonderful.
Yes, I can. So Bachan is 6 months in English. We started with 20 Chonikim, 30 Israelis. So in the beginning, after our orientation, it was definitely something to get used to for a lot of Chonikim. I can say for myself, I have family here, so it already helped for me that I come here twice a year. But there is Chonikim that it was their first time coming here, first time experiencing the Israeli culture. So it was definitely something to go through together in the beginning. And it's still something that's relevant with everything that we do. It depends on the topic, of course, but yeah, it's definitely, you feel the differences, but it's also something that's kind of beautiful to experience together and to also learn to express those cultural differences and to talk about it together. I hope that answers a little bit of the question. I don't remember everything.
Totally.
Yeah.
Another question, do you have alumni who started the program with very little Hebrew? I think Adi can even attest to that if you want to talk a little bit about Adam. Go for it.
Sure. Yeah, so the question is yes. I do want to say, for those who don't go to the fully English campus, it does, how can I say that? It is more than encouraged to already practice your Hebrew beforehand and come with some understanding of Hebrew, because the shift toward the Hebrew period, it can be tough if you don't have it. Although I did have more than a few overseas participants who did not have Hebrew almost at all. Some of them they knew some words, and you could really tell those who made the effort really put it as a goal for themselves to practice Hebrew. Today they can speak not necessarily fluently, but quite well. I can speak with them in Hebrew, both in WhatsApp and face to face. That's amazing. But they made the effort. Okay, those who didn't make the effort, and just they will suffice with the 2 Hebrew sessions we have in the weeks. For them, it was really tough. So the level of progress that you can make in the program is unbelievable, but it really, really, really eventually depends on your effort.
Todadi. Another question is about Hebrew. Do you provide Hebrew lessons for those who don't speak it? Is there a formal Ulpan component within the Mechina, especially in regards to reading and writing?
Okay, so as I said, we don't have Ulpan the way we understand as a full, intense Hebrew sessions for a long time. We do have in every campus at least 2 sessions a week for about an hour and a half. It's not enough. It's not enough to exercise your Hebrew and practice it as you would have done in Ulpan. But you live with Israelis, they speak in Hebrew. And in most of the campuses, the sessions at some point are going to be in Hebrew. So you have the Hebrew environment. All you need to do is to make the effort to practice yourself, to internalize it, and to even start practicing before Mechina. Okay? But twice a week, it's not enough. It's not like Ulpan, but it gives you some ways to take off from there.
Okay. Another question says, what is the age range of participants? I would say that we have an age range of between 18 and 20, sometimes pushing to 21. Lee is actually going to speak about this because she's one of our older chanichim at Bachan. And so just to discuss what that's like to come as a little bit older than just the high school graduates. Lee.
Yeah, so I am currently 20 years old. I was supposed to do Kol Ami 2 years ago, but it didn't happen because of COVID. I had to make a split decision on if to do it or not. And I made a decision to not go, which later on, I felt very sorry that I didn't go. And I felt like something was missing. And I started uni in COVID, uni in Amsterdam. And then I decided that still I felt something was missing. So I kind of had to give it a try. So I emailed Maya again. And that's how I kind of came back to Kol Ami. So I'm very grateful that even as a 20-year-old, in the beginning, I thought I wasn't allowed to come, but that I did get the chance to come. And I know you might be asking the age difference between 18 and 20-year-olds. It's not as bad as you think. It's only 2 years. In some aspects you feel it, but it's also kind of good to give like my perspective from what I've already done. So yeah, that's kind of a bit about the age.
Totally. And I see some questions about Perek Bet. When do we need to pick between the 6-month and the 9-month program? And also, can you speak more on what the volunteering internships look like for the extra 3-month program? Gabi, I'm gonna leave that one
sure.
for you.
I'll take that one. Starting with the option, first of all, with the decision making, the best thing to do would be to decide before, because then everyone's like, with that plan, you can also get more of a Masa grant on a need base if you're designated for the longer term than the shorter one. But you could also make the decision by halftime once you're in the Mechina. Obviously we do understand that some people don't know and they don't want to commit yet, and only as they see their experience in Israel, if they would want to stay more, then we're leaving obviously that opportunity to stay on during the program. The opportunities, I could say, first of all, we're open since this is the first year we're open for new ideas. The participants now are the ones forming the first options. We have two that will be going to Yad Vashem, doing some work. It's not clear yet which field within the Yad or which office within Yad Vashem, but they're looking into research over the Holocaust. So Yad Vashem was the place that they really wanted to be in. We'll have a few people in digging, in archaeological digging in Jerusalem, in Ir David, the city of David. We have 2 participants that are interested in working in agriculture in a place that is like its main idea is sustainability in working the ground, working the land. I'd say those are the main things that we're looking into at the moment. But again, those are things that participants chose. Since we start early, and even if you know, say you sign up for the program and before the program even starts, if you know what you'll want to do and it's not on our list, we'll be happy to do that. Other things that are on the list and we don't have participants doing them yet, we have the Jewish Agency is opening all its doors. So if it's things having to do with fundraising or the partnerships between communities in Israel and overseas, Israel advocacy, there are many things that are already on the list, but the group that is formed now is going to be what they'll be doing. And as I said, we're happy to find the other opportunities. The schedule, we're more interested in watching them grow, as in being able for them to go out and to do their work and to come back, and for the days that we'll be running the sessions for them. And that's going to give us an opportunity for like even more specific preparation for the specific things that they'll be doing when they go home. For example, the idea of going back to campus, our participants on Perek Bet already know which campuses they're going back to. So them being in touch with the Hillel representatives and with like understanding the campus challenges that they'll be meeting, or those going into the army later. So it's more specific for specific people because it's a smaller group. Magen David Adom, I see that question is unfortunately not an option yet. They have set dates that don't really fit with our Perek Bet. If we'll have a large enough group, and I think a large enough group is 15, we'll be able to open our own session for Magen David Adom, and then it's not decided by their dates that they have, and it could be up to us. But that's unfortunately at the moment. Yeah, we were asked about Magen David in the past.
Awesome. I see a question also about how religious are the campuses traditional. So we do have a campus that we didn't necessarily talk about that is partnered with Bnei Akiva, so it's more of a non-Orthodox campus. And the other campuses bring together Jews from all different observancies. And that's because we believe that it's very important in order for you to grow is to be challenged. And so we encourage everyone to come to Kol Ami with an open mindset where they can learn about different traditions, different countries with different traditions in regards to Judaism. And also in regards to Judaism in Israel, all the Israelis who are coming have different levels of observancies. And so being able to be in an environment with different perspectives will encourage each participant to grow at a faster rate and have more opportunities for growth. And does Kol Ami help with the IDF draft registration after the program?
So yes, for sure. One of the first things we ask participants when they join, and this goes for the Israelis as well, is what their plan is, what jobs they are interested in doing, what they're set to do, and we help throughout the whole way. there are things that we can help with, as in the first thing anyone has to do is go to the Army office, and there are a few exams that they have to go to, so we can walk them to the entrance. We can't go in. And their participants will be on their own because the Army is examining who they are and what they are, so in order to give them the right, to allocate the right positions for them. But we do help with all the things like in the way. And I'd say probably even more important than that, we're available after the program. The Chayalim Bodedim, the lone soldiers, would be, that's a group we really want to help them with throughout their time, understanding that their families are away. We know the Army, we know their experience that they'll be encountering, and being able to be there for them as like the older brothers or mentors is something that we do as well. Every group has one staff member that stays for the following year in touch with the participants. So we have someone who's also paid to be in touch and to continue the relationship and to make sure everything is going as well as possible. And if not, to help out with whatever we can.
And I see another question. Do you have many participants that are Israelis that grew up abroad? 100%. We have lots of those. I think that Kol Ami is really attractive for kids that are like that because they have this connection to Israel. Maybe they grew up here until they were in 4th grade, and then their dad got a job somewhere, their mom got a job somewhere, and they had to hop over somewhere. We heard Mia talk about, she grew up in Hong Kong, but she was able to come back to her roots here in Israel. And so I think it's a very cool opportunity to be able to do that. And it's definitely a type of a population that Kol Ami attracts. Can people find their own volunteering internship programs? Gabi did answer that. So as you said, we have our own partnerships, we have our own connections, but if there is something that you're interested in that we don't necessarily have that connection from the beginning, we are more than happy to help you do that research and make that connection so that you can have an internship that is worthwhile for you and that is most interesting for you so that you get the most out of the extension. What are some examples of hikes you have done? There's a lot of them.
There are a lot of them. It might be a bit different than any campus. If any participant wants to enter that, you're more than welcome to. We have Navigation Week that is usually either up north or south by Beersheba. We have hikes in the desert, in the Negev, in Golan, pretty much everywhere.
Did you mention which campuses are mostly in English versus which ones are traditionally in Hebrew? Also, why is Amir more expensive than the other campuses? I'm happy to answer the first question. So Bachan and Amir are going to be both in 6 months in English for next year. Yarim and Anavim are 3 months in English and then 3 months in Hebrew. So that is to ensure that the international participants that come to Israel, they feel secure and they feel supported and be able to speak English. And then we push them to challenge their Hebrew and to learn Hebrew and interact with the Israelis in Hebrew and interact in discussions also when learning. And then the second question about why is Amir more expensive, Gabi?
Sure. Amir they have quite a few components that are partnerships with other organizations that are more expensive. Mainly things having to do with the content. If it's different courses and I'm losing my English, miktsoi. Like professional courses. Professional courses that are more expensive, and I think a bit more staff as well.
And if there are any last questions, this is your time. Feel free to unmute yourself also. Okay.
Can I?
Yeah, go for it.
Hi, just one question. When does the process actually start? When do we need to register and, all that?
So our registration is happening now. We are rolling admissions. So as you apply, you get accepted. I will say that over half of our spots have been filled. So I would definitely apply sooner rather than later to make sure that you guys can secure a spot because the process takes a little bit of time. You need to apply online, write a bio essay, and then also schedule an interview. There are medical forms that need to be filled out by doctors. And so you definitely want to start it sooner rather than later just because of the timing right now. But it's open until around April.
And then in the process, we choose which campus
Exactly. So
Okay.
you start off with a conversation with me. We just get to know each other a little bit. I'll answer any questions you have, explain about our different campuses. And then from there, I can put you in contact or your child in contact with different alumni from the different campuses to really give you that personal experience of what it was like to be on Kol Ami. And then from there, you shoot me a text and you say, finish the application. I want to interview for Bachan. And I make that connection with you with the director, and they will schedule an interview with you. And then I'll be in touch in regards to your status after.
Okay, so another question, is there, if we come to visit, is because we live in Boston, can we, if we come to visit this summer, can we visit the campuses?
100%. We are more than welcome to have visitors. You just be in touch with me when you come here so that I can definitely schedule one of our staff members to be there with you. But it's important to note that there won't be Mechina happening because it's not the months. So there won't be necessarily participants running around leading programming, but you can see the campus, yes. How do we apply? Is there a link? I'm more than happy to put a link in the chat right now. But besides that, there was a QR code, so I'm happy to share that again. And you can also do that. So if you scan this with your camera, you're actually able to go straight to the application. And if you see my email here, if you shoot me an email, I can also send you the link. Any last burning questions?
So there's a question about visiting family in Israel. The program is pretty intense, but the free weekends, which was relatively every second week, you're more than welcome to do whatever you want. We would suggest go to the Israelis, your Israeli friends from Mechina. That'd be, I think, the best way to also get to know them better, but to know their families and all that. But the free weekends are yours. We would just like by Wednesdays, usually, we just want to know that you have a plan and you're not just left alone, not that you weren't approached by anyone inviting you, you don't have any family here. So we'll make sure you have a place to be for Shabbat, but it's up to you wherever you want to go.
And I'm just
Can I ask a quick question?
Yeah, go
Sure.
for it.
So you mentioned that there is a like week where they give you a taste of what like IDF basic training is like.
Yeah.
Is that something you specifically have to choose to do, or is that everyone?
That's everyone. The truth is, it's one of, I think it's one of the most important weeks we have for the group environment, because they learn how it is. You could put it under the category of army preparation, but you could also put it under the category of how to work better as a group, working in short timelines and like working together. A lot of the aspects that come up in basic training are like pretty much good for everyone. So it is for everyone.
I'm excited.
It should be.
Another question, how long after interviewing should we expect a final decision as to whether or not we were accepted? And if we were, will we be able to meet our fellow attendees ahead of time? That's a great question. Once you're interviewed, you could be accepted the next day. It really depends on where we are in the application. So if you're applying earlier on, we have more spots available. We can make decisions a little faster. But if you're applying towards the end, towards the springtime, it's going to take a bit longer because we have to figure out where you fit into the puzzle in regards to making sure that the ratios are the same on each campus. There's enough boys, enough girls. And so it might take a little longer, but if you apply now, I would hope to get back to you between 1 to 3 days. And if not, by the end of the week. And are you able to meet your fellow attendees ahead of time? So there is an orientation for all of our chulnikim, all of our international participants. So you'll be able to meet all of the internationals together before you go off to your own campus. And, there are some times we make a Facebook group so you guys can meet each other, but honestly, at this point, I feel like it's usually better to get here and meet everybody when you get here. But if you're looking for, booking a flight with someone from the same area, I always send out, I connect you with people from your area so you can get on the same flight together to come to Israel.
There's also usually a Zoom call that we do earlier with the directors, with the staff of the specific campus, where people could also get to know each other a bit and also get to know the director.
Do international students start on August 22nd, or they just meet for a day and start with everyone on the 27th? It is a 5-day long orientation. So it's not just meeting for a day. You are together. You are really preparing for Mechina and just easing your transition to Israel by being with people who are really on the same boat as you. And then
Maya, I'll answer the question about the Bnei Akiva Mechina.
Go for it.
They're part of our chain as well. They are part of our main seminars, the main events. They're part of everything. And I think what's even best, it's that they're in a very good location for Judea and Samaria Week. So most of our campuses are hosted by there or do a day or a weekend. So, and this, by the way, happens in many of our campuses where they host each other, which also gives a different aspect of getting to know both another place in Israel and other groups within the Mechina.
Yofi. And I think that can be our last question. I want to thank everyone who spoke. Thank you so much for being here. I think you really gave excitement and great insight into what Kol Ami is all about. And for everyone who tuned in, thank you so much for being here. And I hope you wrote down my email, scanned the code, and I look forward to working with you on the application for Kol Ami.
Maya, thank you very much for organizing this. And thank you everyone for joining.
Thank you, Maya.
Thank
you.
you.
Bye guys. Bye.